Alright, today's video is how I refurbished my DX7 keyboard, electronic keyboard case. This was all foam lined and it lasted for 35 years. But I had left it in a trunk for a couple days in the hot sun. Didn't affect the DX7, storage temperature was way high, but the heat destroyed the foam lining that was inside. It became brittle and gummy and all that. So I ripped it out. And my wife said, why don't I replace it with some of this extra carpeting, this outdoor carpeting I had laying around. So I lined it with this nice brown carpeting. And I'm making blocks to hold the DX7 in place because the case is obviously a little bit bigger. So I could have put more foam in it, but this is going to be a little more resilient. So I'm making these blocks. And I'm going to show you how I glued it in and made the blocks and whatnot. So let's switch over to that. Let me just bear with me. Poor production value, I know. Lower that down. There we go. So, let's see, that should be the center of my work area for the film there. Very good. Alright. So, it's very simple. The principles I'm showing you here are with the same thing done with the case. You're going to take some indoor-outdoor carpeting. It's really cheap, or whatever. Any kind of carpeting. You use felt, whatever. And you make a block. I'm not going to show you how to make a block. You should know how to make that if you're into woodworking. So, what you're going to need is contact cement. This is heavy-duty stuff. You can use spray adhesives, but it doesn't work. Contact cement, you can control the thickness. It's a lot cheaper than the spray. And when you're going to do it with the case, you're going to want a throwaway brush. When you go to your Home Depot or Lowe's or any store, you'll notice that everything at eye level is the most expensive. So look low towards the floor, and you'll see the low throwaway brushes. Okay, find a brush that works with your contact cement. And you're just going to throw it away when this project is done, because this contact cement is not worth, rinsing your brush off in mineral spirits. You pay the $1.25 for the brush and throw it away when you're done. Of course, you stir it. Now, what I'm doing here is, in this case, I already thrown away my brush because I already finished my project, and this was an afterthought. So I'm just going to use a piece of wood. You don't get the control, but it works out, and you just kind of spread that in there. See how I'm doing that? And you want a decent coat. You want to coat the wood so it's shiny. Okay, you don't want it too thick. Thick is better. It just takes a little longer to dry. Well, not necessarily better. It's just going to hold a little more, but not too much. Not too much. So you get a nice coating on there. You see, nice way. Using a stick like this, I don't have to worry about even buying a brush. But I wouldn't recommend this in the case because you need better control with the brush so you don't get it up against the other carpeting that you've already poured in, and I'm going to show you why you have to do that in sections. So we're going to butter this up really nicely, borrowing what we can. Okay, again, like I said, if you want to use the throwaway brush, you'll get better control. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you butter that up, and we're going to butter the top too, because we're going to be putting the carpet over the top of it. Okay. Get a nice coat on there, everything looks good. Put that aside. Then on the bottom of the carpet, what I do is I just drizzle along the edge. Okay, like that, and that soaks in. Try not to get it on the edges. Alright, put this down. Put a nice bead along the edge, and that'll soak in a little bit. You don't want it to soak in too much, because then it'll stiffen the carpet on the other side. But, do an experiment. Try it first. I've done this a few times. See, I got a little glue on my hands. And you get the whole periphery, the edges there, done. Alright, it doesn't have to soak all the way, as long as you know you've got it on the surface all the way around. But the ends are where you want it to get the most. Put some here in the middle. And you get a little carpet there. That's alright, this is a... Okay, we'll do the other one. See if I could just spread it to the edges. It'll soak in. So develop your own technique. There's lots of techniques. Again, not too much. Just to get a coating on there. So the way contact cement works is it bonds two surfaces together. You're getting the glue tacky on both surfaces. It has to be on both surfaces usually. And that's what gives it a strong bond, because you're putting together before it's cured, but it's starting to firm up. And then when it cures, it holds. I mean, there's no, nothing's going to pull that apart. All right, so that's pretty decent. Put a little more on that corner over there. Okay. And then finally, the piece of foam that I'm going to put in. We're going to butter that up. We're going to put a little extra on this one because the glue kind of soaks into the foam on this. And for those of you who saw my emergency backpack ventilator, this is the same foam that I used on the backpack. It's foam that you use in your home gym. I always keep a couple of these sheets laying around because I use it with my cats. Where my cats like to scratch, I put this foam up. And they're pretty good about things, but we have a old, as you can see here, this is an old 17th century reproduction home, and we have a lot of post and beam inside, and the cats love to scratch on the post, so I have to put this in a few places. But they're pretty good. They use their scratch pads as well. So we're going to let all that dry for 15 minutes, or firm up. So through the magic of television, we're ready to go. I've got pieces ready to go here. So we're just going to, and you only get one shot with this, so you're going to start at the bottom, push it up, straight in there. And the instructions say you want about 25 pounds per square inch. Okay, and we're going to flip that over the top. We're going to put the other piece in. Make sure you get it nice and square. There it is. Again, you only get one shot at that. So you got to practice. Again, pushing down everywhere you can. And then you get your piece. I figure out which the ugliest sides are here. Put that in there. I can trim that up later. Push that down. That's pretty much it. Then I'm going to take a piece of scrap, about like that, and cut it. I'm not even going to butter this piece up. It's just a small decorative piece. Make sure I match the grains. Too short. Find another piece. Cut. That's better. And we'll stick that on there. And we'll let that set for a minute, and we'll keep coming back every few minutes, putting more pressure on all the points. And when you're done, you'll get something like this. This one I cut a little short because my power cord's there, but the keyboard will say, I'd like to have this all foam, but it wasn't practical. There'd only be a very thin film of foam here, so I just decided to use carpet, put the foam on the bottom. And I'm not on the road or anything like that, so I'm not worried about this thing getting banged around. I just want to keep my keyboard nice when I'm not using it, nicely stored. So that's about it. So the trick here is using those techniques with glue. Of course, you're going to be using a throwaway brush. You're going to cut your pieces to fit. Cut the bottom piece to fit the full bottom, because these are going to overlap. The sides are going to overlap. So I'll show you with this. You want the sides overlap to cover the edge of the bottom. So cut your bottom piece first and put that in. And what you're going to do is you're going to put down a very thick coat of contact cement. But you're not going to put it on the carpet. The reason is, I'll show you here with a piece of spare carpet, is normally you put it on both sides and you let it dry and you stick it down. Well, this is such a big area, so what you're going to end up doing is rolling your carpet without any glue. There's not going to be any glue on it. Then when it's time, because you put an extra thick coat on here, we're not going to let it dry 20 minutes. We're going to dry it like 10 minutes, so it's still going to be a little thick and tacky. Not as tacky, but still going to be gooey. and we're going to get our 2 corners, and because it's still not tacky, we'll be able to align it, and then we'll be able to roll this down until it fits perfectly. That's how I got this to fit so nicely. If I was to let this dry 20 minutes and tack both sides, I would have never got it square, and I'd have to sit there and cut it and do also make it oversized. I made these sizes precisely and developed my technique where I don't coat the back. I put an extra coating on the bottom. Don't let it cure all the way, only 10 minutes. Get this lined up. It's still soft. You can pre-position it right into the corners, the 2 corners, and then, of course, roll it out. So I'll show you again. You got your piece that's in there. I wish I had this, but I thought about making it. Trying to make a film while you're doing it is impossible because I have no way of editing right now. So it'd be a 3-hour film. You didn't want to watch that. So you put it in there because the glue is not set yet. You get your 2 corners, and you're just going to roll this right down. It'll be perfect. So then you push that down, 25 pounds per square inch every few minutes. Come back. If you get a little bit of a bubble, you can always lift it up, and with a Q-tip or something, spread a little glue in there. Let it, contact cement, let it wait for about 10-15 minutes, and then press it back down so you can always touch up. So when you're doing the sides here, like this side, this is already pretty level. So you're going to batter that up. Try not to get any on the existing carpet. Of course, you have your piece already cut. And then you're just going to roll from one side down as you're rolling it, keeping it against the top, the other piece of carpet there, and just roll that down and push it down with 25 psi, and then you can trim that up with a blade after it's cured. Don't try to trim it while it's wet and curing. Wait the next day before you start trimming things up. And then, of course, if you find that if there's any place where it lifts, you see like right there it lifts, you can put a little bit of glue, contact cement, let it sit for 10-15 minutes, and then push that back down. And you can go around there and get that perfectly. So that's the technique. It's pretty simple. Just cut your pieces of carpet. Use a metal straight edge and a utility knife and cut them on a nice surface. And then pre-fit them, make sure everything fits nice. And another thing what I did is I marked everything because I knew it might show. I cut everything on the top surface. Sometimes people like to cut from the bottom. I like to cut from the top. I get a little better control of what I'm doing there. But some people say that's not right. But what I'm going to do here is, you can see there's a little bit of orange. I don't know if you can see that, but maybe just wipe that off. Comes right up. So don't use permanent marker when you mark your carpet. Use like dry erase board coloring. Sorry about that, folks. So you probably didn't even see half what I was showing. Yeah, okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm sorry about the production value. I'm sorry I couldn't give you step-by-step instructions. But the key here is not so much cutting carpet and cutting pieces of wood. That's pretty much straightforward. It's how you apply the glue and how you apply it to the back of the carpeting and whatnot to make it work. So about another 5 minutes here, I'm going to put together a piece. I'll do that off camera. And maybe I'll make another video to show you when it's all done. Alright, thanks. Okay, this is the final update on the keyboard case refurbishing. As you can see, I got the keyboard in there and I got the 4 corners blocks in there, and I added these extra blocks, which are just going to be velcroed in place. Let me just zoom in on those if I can. And basically they just cradle the keyboard down like that. I put a rubber gasket on there, and that'll be velcroed in place, and that'll keep the keyboard, and there's one over there, and that'll keep the keyboard from flopping around inside. So it's very minimalist. Looks nice. It's got carpeting all around it. That'll be something like that. That'll be velcroed in so I could take it out, because everything's designed so I can, if I ever want to reuse this case for something else. And that's about it.